My name is Meg Tuohey. Together we'll gather wisdom from a wide range of voices, thought leaders and seekers just like you. Through individual stories, we'll explore multiple categories of wisdom and uncover how the stripes of our experiences, both joyful and challenging and all that lies in between, intertwine to create a rich tapestry of life. So whether you're looking for inspiration, guidance, or simply a moment of reflection, you're in the right place. This is Wisdom Stripes. Today on Wisdom Stripes, we have the privilege of speaking with Moncy Trejo, a leader who has built a career on the foundation of genuine relationships and authentic connections. As the CEO of Exposure Digital Marketing, Moncy has seen firsthand the impact that real meaningful relationships can have on personal and professional success. She believes that connection is a powerful tool, one that transcends transactional interactions and creates a lasting legacy. Join us as we dive into Moncy's insights on the power of building real relationships, the lessons she's learned about trust and authenticity, and how she's helping others do the same in their own lives and careers. Moncy, welcome to Wisdom Stripes, where we are your fierce fairy godmothers, turning pain and confusion into clarity and confidence. It's lovely to have you on the pod.
Thank you for having me on, Meg. I'm excited about this.
Me too. Now, Moncy, we always start this podcast with the first question. What is it that you'd like a listener to come away with today? What wisdom would you like them to come away with?
You know, I thought about this a lot yesterday, and one of the things I really want people to learn out of this podcast and just like really ingrain in them is the value of true relationships and not the transactional kind of fake kind of relationships people have been building as of lately. With social media, we've been seeing a lot of people focus more on the transactional relationships or just superficial relationships and not diving deeper into building a really good relationship with someone. So my wisdom here is learn how to value a real, genuine, authentic relationship with someone. So fostering those relationships.
So I have a few questions here. First of all, you founded a company, Exposure Marketing.
Digital marketing.
Digital marketing. Exposure Digital Marketing. And you have a very rich social life, which I am blessed and privileged to be able to see the way that you are loved and loved the ones that you care about, your chosen family and your actual family. So I have seen firsthand how this works in your life. I wonder, how did you know or how did you find your way to understanding the difference between the two? And what made you choose to do the deeper relationships with more people?
So for me, it was actually firsthand experience of being a part of a transactional relationship when I thought it was a real, genuine, authentic relationship. I thought it was a true friendship. So that feeling of me being left behind or just, oh, we're not actually friends, this was just because we were working together, made me feel a certain way. It made me feel upset. It made me feel not good enough. And so for me, it was just like, I don't want to feel that way anymore. And I don't want other people to feel that way. So I started paying more attention to how I talk to people and how I value people. And so I was just like, I never want to make another person feel the way that I did. And I never want to put them in that shoes or in that kind of, correspondence. And so for me, it's just when I felt that way, it was just a horrible, horrible feeling of just, okay, so that was 2 years of just transactional. It's just like, it was just work. I was paying you for something along with you were paying me for something, my services and your services. We were doing a transaction, but we thought we had built a relationship there. And it just was not the case.
So it's like the gap, isn't it?
Yes.
Because it's okay to pay for a transactional service. And so long as it's kind of consensual, I understand what it is that I'm asking for and you understand, and we're going to meet on that level, and that is fine. I think maybe the gap was the betrayal or the deceit.
Yes.
Which came from, I thought we had a different experience. And when I realized that that wasn't your experience or your intention, then well, maybe not let me phrase that differently. Then perhaps it felt like you had a secret from me that you knew and I didn't.
Correct.
And I showed up as my whole true self. And I thought that was what you were doing, only to realize that wasn't the intention. And that betrayal, it leaves a mark on us.
Completely. Oh, I cried. I
Yeah.
completely cried because in my head, it was a true friendship. And, there was people telling me, like, nah, you probably shouldn't trust too much and all that. And I was just like, no, this is a real legit relationship and all that. Like, we got this, we're good. And as soon as I cut the ties of like, hey, I can't no longer do your services anymore, I got ghosted. Never been ghosted in my life. I got ghosted by a friend, quote unquote friend. And so, like that feeling it was like a feeling of betrayal. And I wouldn't want that for anyone. It's a horrible feeling. And if I ever did that to anyone, I do apologize because it is a horrible feeling that I never want anyone to experience.
I do think we do that as humans when we don't know how to do it any better. And sometimes we let ourselves off the hook and we don't close things. Sometimes we don't need to close things and we can just naturally let the tides take us away from each other. But in this case, there was an ending. And in the ending, what didn't happen was the conscious uncoupling. And I know that's a Gwyneth Paltrow phrase, like I got it. But that sense of we've been here and we've done our time together and thank you. And now we're going to go our separate ways. And also, here's how we're going to be together now. There was no translation. And so you've expected it to go one way.
Yep.
And the other party didn't see it in that way at all. And then I imagine what was left was like this hollow emptiness.
Yes. And it was more beyond that too. From this example, it was from a mentor also.
Ouch.
So it was more of a bigger betrayal in that sense because it came from someone that I was learning from, looking up to and all that too. So
Ouch.
it's like coming from a mentor rather than just like someone else, like just paying services for, just like an actual, work service. It definitely took a toll more on that one.
Yeah, because when we have mentors, they're by design not at the same level.
You think higher of them.
We think higher of them because we're looking to understand what they know and we're looking to grow into what they know that we feel like belongs with something we need to learn.
Yep.
And so, ouch.
Yes.
So you had that experience, you made a decision because you could have done a decision that said, I'm never going to invest in anybody else again. I'm going to stay transactional. I've learned that this is how I'm going to do it. But actually what you did is you said, I felt what that felt like, and I don't want to pass that on to anybody else. Can we talk about that decision and why you chose to move through that and be the version that you wished you'd had?
Yeah. So I've always been the happy-go-lucky person. There's very rare am I in a bad mood or anything like that. Like if anything, Nick sees that side of me, like if we're under a lot of stress, but I always like to give the benefit of the doubt to people. And because I do like building those connections and networking with people and like connecting other people together, even if it's without me, I really do like building that relationship quite a bit. So for me to just go on the higher road, let's put it that way, like choose the higher path and not just be like, I'm going to build transactional relationships because it happened to me. Woe is me. I'm going to think negatively the whole time. It's not like me to do that. It really isn't. And it brings me back to just memories of my past with my biological father of like having to please them to be in a friendship or in a relationship. And so I just didn't want that either. I didn't want to go back to the past. I wanted to move forward away from my past and choose the path for me, which is building those relationships, building those true, genuine connections. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You can't be friends with everyone. No, and that's fine.
That's actually normal.
Yeah, it's completely normal. And when you know, it's not one of those things where like, no, I'm going to force you to be my friend. Absolutely not. But the transactional one is just, it's not worth it. I would rather not be someone's friend than be someone's transactional friend.
Mm. So in your industry, it is would you say a largely transactional based industry?
It is very transactional. It's very superficial.
Could you talk to us about your industry and your speciality?
Yeah. So in the social media world, that's what we focus on, content creation for social media along with podcasting. There's a lot of superficialness. Everyone always has their best foot forward on social media. They post all the highlights of their days, the highlights of their months, like I'm doing a podcast, I'm a keynote speaker, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It's just like, I just bought a new car, I just got a new hairdo. It's always that I just got this. Look at me. It's just like the shining object syndrome, basically. They never post the bad stuff. They never post the ugly stuff. They never talk about, hey, I just went through this hardship. Like, what should we talk about? Like, I just went through a breakup, or it's never in anything bad. And so it's always something superficial, and people always want to post, a lot of people are known for renting out all these like cars, the like Lamborghinis, the Ferraris, and posting it on social media saying it's theirs, and it's not even theirs. That's how superficial social media is. So in my world, I have to skim through all that. I have to see what's real, what's not real. And so I'm able to see a fake person over a real person very, very easily. And so what I said is, I'm not going to work with these quote unquote influencers, the ones that are just like coming up, just trying to monetize on social media. I want to work with people who are business owners, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, educators. Those are my kind of people that I want to work with.
And how does that relate to your experience with your mentor?
I thought there were thought thinkers, educators. I did think very highly, and I thought that was the bucket that I put. So that's definitely a misjudgment on my end. But it definitely taught me how to sort through other people better in that sense.
There's wisdom in discernment. And so it was a hard-earned wisdom, yours, because of that betrayal. But now you can really discern between the two.
Yes. I can definitely tell apart people a lot better. And if it happens, I'm not going to be perfect at saying, no, you're real, no, you're fake. It just happens, maybe someone has a great day and all that kind of stuff. But I guess for me, it's like I can still have a transactional relationship with someone. Absolutely. It's just like, we know our spot, we know our place. Like, that's just what it is. We don't want to move forward with the friendship. That's completely fine too. But I will not put value or try as hard to keep that genuine relationship if that's not what they're seeking to.
So Moncy, I don't know if this is the right phrase, but do you have a stable of talent? Do we still use that phrasing?
I don't think so.
What do we say about the collection of people you represent?
So you mean like my clientele, or do you mean?
Yeah, but how do you talk about, like, what's the group name for this?
Oh,
Because when I was growing up in the magazines, in the 80s and the 90s, it was a stable of talent.
Ooh,
stable.
I like that. Well, we can use stable of talent. I like that. I'm like, I haven't used the term.
There's not a better way of saying it. It's not a more modern way of saying it.
I don't think so. I just normally say like my clientele and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. Let's call them your stable of talent. Your clients. You represent many.
Yes.
Yes. And they are not transactional based influencers.
Correct.
Do you have people approach you and you say, actually, perhaps this agency might serve you better?
Yes, we have turned down people in the past before, and we actually have fired people in the past before. Not necessarily fired as in like, that's a bad relationship, you're gone kind of situation, but it's more so, hey, I think it would be better if you work with this company instead. And we have referral partners that we work with that have like different agencies and all that kind of stuff, that just a different kind of mindset for them, and they just mesh better with that person. And that's completely fine. Like, I'm not going to mesh with everyone, and that's completely fine by me and all that. So we definitely have referred people to other agencies. If we have an onboarding call or we have just like a discovery call and we're not meshing, we already know right off the bat it's not going to work out. So we just get an email saying like, hey, we're going to go somewhere else. That's completely fine with us. Or we'll send an email saying, I don't think our services are right for you. Yeah. But we value in exposure, we value our clients to the T. Like we, travel for them. We go everywhere with them. We'll stay up late for them. We'll do all the work needed to get done for them. It's just, we care so much.
Yeah. And now is a good time to say that you travel for them, you stay up late for them, and I am them.
You're one of them, yes. But we love you. We built this relationship, and which is funny because you're all the way in Australia and I'm in San Diego.
Yeah.
And we built this relationship, and we met in Australia. We've met up in Huntington Beach. We're in Miami right now, and it's just this relationship. It's past just the client relationship. Like, I don't necessarily say like, oh, Meg's my client. I'm like, Meg is my friend first before my client. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't do that, especially in agencies. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are like, that's my client. That's my client. That's my client. I'm like, okay, so that's how you value this person, mm-hmm. just as your client. Mm-hmm. That's very transactional. Mm-hmm. For me, I'm like, no, that's my friend. Mm. Like, what was it? The first time I met you was in Australia. Mm-hmm. We could have easily gone from where we were before to Sydney or Tokyo back home.
Yeah.
But we made it a point to look at the different, connecting flights. And we were like, nope, we're in Melbourne. We'll stay there for 18 hours. We get to say hi to Meg, finally meet her, and then we can go back. Yeah. So that's how we work. We're like, how can we put them first and like show that we do care?
Right. And when you meet someone in person, it does change.
The connection is just so much bigger.
Yes.
It's sort of like the same concept I told you about doing virtual versus in-person podcasts. The connection, the energy, it's just there. You get to feel the person, and then you can either tell whether you like the person or not in person, even better. Because mm-hmm. Virtually there is a whole facade. Same with social media. It's all virtual. There's a whole facade.
Mm-hmm. So talk to us about the wisdom that comes from running a different type of social media agency. And by that, I mean, it's not like you're not very successful in what you do, but the tone of it is different to the transactional other places and spaces that you might find. Tell me how that has shaped the people you work with, the things that you make, and the success that you've had.
Yeah. So funny enough, we were just having this conversation with someone yesterday too. And it's because we care and we value that relationship a lot more. The client notices and they're just like, you guys will drop anything just to make us happy. Whereas there's other agencies out there where they're just like, sorry, we work from 9 to 5 p.m. You reached out to us at 5 o'clock on the dot with 1 second afterwards. We are fully closed. For me, I'm like, I'm available. You need me. What do you need? We can get this handled. It can be 10 o'clock my time and we'll still get it handled. It's just one of those things. I want to make sure that everyone is completely happy with our services, and we'll try our best to get you completely happy. Whereas, like I said, other agencies, it's not the same. We've heard that also, like that remark where it's just, there's no value there, or they're just too busy building their own portfolios and stuff that they just water down everyone else. For us, it's like, no, we're planting seeds. We're growing all this. Like, this is our garden. Like, we're growing this. We're not trying to water you down.
You're tending.
Yes.
So where's the wisdom for the listener here? Not many of them are represented by social media agencies. They are living in their own worlds. Where is the wisdom here for everybody?
It's also paying attention to who you're surrounding by. It's just like, pay attention to your relationships at home, your friendships. Who are you hanging out with the most? Or are you not hanging out with the most? Is there some like fake kind of relationship going on there? Do you feel uneasy about someone when you're around them? Is it okay to cut ties with that person? If it doesn't bring value to you, or you feel like it doesn't bring any kind of value or like that goodness in your heart, mm-hmm. it's okay to let go of someone. It really is. But as like an audience listener, you want to like also build those relationships if you mm-hmm. can. Dig deeper into conversations. Don't be superficial about, how's the weather today? Where are you traveling to next? like those kind of conversations are so top surface layer, and it's just like, there's no value there. Dig deeper, get to know the person even more, dig into their roots. It's just like, what are their family members? What's their background like? What are they doing outside of work? Like what makes them them? That's how you're able to like connect deeper with someone.
We need an interest in other people and to show that care and connection. So we went out for dinner last night, you and me and Nick, your husband, and Kelly, who has also been a guest on this season. And one of us, we were all introducing ourselves because I know all of you, but you all don't know all of you, but now you do. And we went around the table, and one of the questions I think it was Kelly asked is, what's your birth order?
Yep.
And I was like, there's a question that is really interesting.
It is so interesting.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting because no one gets asked that. Like,
Right.
what's your birth order? And but it's also true because there's also like the stigma of like, oh, you're the firstborn, middle child, you're the baby, you're this, you're that. And it brings light to a whole new conversation.
A whole new conversation, which is a bit like, where did you come from?
Yep.
And how many of them are, like, how many siblings do you have?
Yeah. So now like Kelly, for example, knows that me, for example, I'm the middle child. And I went on a whole topic about my little brother and just how like I was 14 when he was born, and I was almost like a cool aunt to him because of that. And so it's just brought in a whole new layer of conversation and a whole new layer of like her getting to know me even on a bigger scale.
Yeah. So you are a person who has had at least 2 major losses in your life. One is your biological dad, which you referenced. The other one is your mentor.
Yes.
And perhaps was the same gender. I don't know. And in those 2 losses of a similar type of person, the fire you walked through, you decided connection is your goal, and service and belonging and loving other people well. Can you talk to us about the wisdom of loss?
Yeah.
And the way that loss informs change and growth?
Yeah. So losing those 2 figures to me was very monumental. The first one being my biological father was, that was my whole upbringing. And so for me, losing him at the tender year of 5 years old and just, trying to do everything I possibly can to just bring him back to my life. And I'm talking like almost a people pleasing way and just never being good enough. And at some point, you have to realize what you're doing is not good enough. It's okay to let go of someone because it's going to be better for you in the long run. I put myself through many like sleepless nights thinking about like, okay, I'm going to talk to him doing this. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that just to bring him back into my life, and nothing worked. And so when I was 15, I was just like, okay, it's my choice now. I get to decide whether he's going to stay in my life or not. And I decided not to because it was best for me. If I wanted to move forward in life and just continue and not stay stuck in this rut, I needed to move forward and just let go. So I did. I let go of him. Thankfully, at that time too, my stepdad came into my picture and became that father figure that I needed. And, it was just always for the best. And so for most people out there saying I let go of my biological father, it might mean like, wow, like you really just did that. Like that's heartless. For me, I did it because it was for my best well-being.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to get stuck in my head and all that about all the things I thought I was doing wrong because I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was a child. It's just like I had to give that ownership of it wasn't me that was doing anything wrong. You're the parent. You had me, so it's just like, here you go. Here's everything back.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with it.
It's very wise for a 15-year-old.
It was hard. It was definitely really hard, but it got easier over the time. And like I said, my stepfather him coming in made it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
If I hadn't had him, it probably would have been a little bit harder of a sting for sure. But I got blessed with him. That's for sure.
So one of the things that I'm thinking about, Moncy, I'm thinking about this is a little bit of a step away from where you are, but I promise I'm going to connect it in a couple of sentences. Thank you. I trust you too. years and years ago, I was quite sure I would become an adoptive parent. I just thought that was in my path. And this is the early days of the internet, and where we didn't have social media. This was pre-Facebook, but we did have blogs. And I used to be so interested in women who were writing blogs about adoptive families and what they were learning. And I particularly followed a therapist adopting two boys from different backgrounds and adding them to her family. And she was able to describe in lots of different nuances the impact of that and the things she needed to think about. And one of the things that she said, and this is Kristen Howerton from Rage Against the Minivan, if anyone remembers those days, is she talked about how every adoption is a relationship that starts with trauma. And it feels like your new dad, your mum's partner who took you on as his own, is like your adoptive parent. And I wonder, still, was there the experience of having the trauma before the love? And what was that like, if that's correct?
Yeah, no, it's definitely correct. And you definitely got me on this one. It's definitely correct. I did go through trauma. There was a trusting factor that I had to break walls. It wasn't as easy for him to be that adoptive parent to me. It was actually really hard for him to enter because I had this wall built because of my previous past. And this was when I was 11 years old. Like at 15, I decided to let go of the other one. But at 11 years old is when my stepdad became part of my life. So at 11 years old, I had a wall, a child. That was a big wall, just not letting anyone in.
An 11-year-old.
An 11-year-old.
That is not a big person.
No.
That is a little person.
It's a little person. And, he tried his best. I remember him playing chess with me. He was just like, hey, you want to play chess? Like teaching me how to do that. And it's just like little by little, just like took an inch. He tried so hard to build that relationship with me, whereas someone else never took the time to do that for me. And just playing chess, just like one game every single night, just that helped build that relationship. Or even like before they even married, him picking me up from school when he didn't have to. That wasn't his job. That wasn't his responsibility. Like he didn't have me. He was just my mom's boyfriend at the time. And he was just like, no, I'll pick her up. Like, it's okay. Like, don't worry about it. Like, really? Like, oh, okay. And so like those little things started building, like bringing down the wall. Funny enough, it was bringing him up and bringing down that wall. And that's when I realized, just because someone is biologically yours doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a good parent to you. And so that made me realize, like, adoptive or not, that was my person. That's the person that stepped in for me, that valued me, that put me first before anything else. And, he took the steps to make me a better person, raised me as his own. He walked me down the aisle. He took those steps with me, and I wouldn't have done it with anyone else but him. And, I was nervous, the whole time walking down the aisle, and he was just like, hey, he's like, got this. Like, it's okay. I'm here for you. And like, even then, as he's giving me away to someone else, he was there for me. Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad means a lot to me. He's actually a good person to show me like real relationships.
It has occurred to me that maybe he taught you, we're just bringing you some tissues. It has occurred to me that maybe he taught you how to build the deep ones. And maybe he was a part of why you chose to go towards people and decide to do relationships differently the way we started. And that was the internalized figure and model in you that you had to draw from.
Yeah.
And without him, you would maybe have chosen a different way because all you had was your biological dad who built that relationship in you in a different way.
Yeah. I want to say that with him, because I broke down that wall, it definitely got me to move forward with other people and build those relationships because I was closed off. I was very introverted. I was very, to myself at that age. Probably because I just felt I didn't feel good enough.
You were surviving.
I was surviving. Yeah.
We're not meant to be without our parents. We're not meant to think our parents don't love us or that we're not good enough.
Yeah.
That's not the human condition that thrives. We are dependents when we're children.
Yeah.
Our parents mean the world to us. And if those gods and goddesses that we look up to, that we rely on, don't choose us, don't love us well, don't take care of us, or don't see us in a warm and respectful light where they want to spend time with us, we're in the stage of concrete thinking in our development. So we just assume we're in this ego space of development, which means that's my fault.
Yep.
We can't perspective take as young children because we are not yet at the brain maturation to be able to think, I wonder what was happening for that person as an adult.
Yeah.
Or I wonder what the context was that had him have children and not be able to do it. Because what I have learned the hard way is that parents actually really do the best they can. And that doesn't mean it's what we call above the line. It doesn't mean it's good enough. It means that's
their best.
That's what they got.
Yeah.
And then as children of parents, we inherit their consequences and their context. And then we use those cards and we can play them in the way that we can. We play the cards we're dealt.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you on that one. It's they do the best they can. They tried. And if that's the best, that's the cards they're dealt with. And it's unfortunate to some, but fortunate to many also at the same time.
Hey there, Meg Tuohey here with a quick and exciting announcement. As a psychologist, coach, and founder of the Wisdom Lab, I've had the privilege of helping thousands of individuals break free from the vicious cycles holding them back and tap into their infinite inner wisdom. If you're tired of feeling unheard, unseen, and stuck in the same old struggles, the Wisdom Lab is the breakthrough you've been yearning for. This on-demand program guides you through a powerful process to shatter emotional barriers, overcome deep-rooted blocks, and experience the profound transformation you deserve. In just 4 hours, you'll gain the tools and insights to revolutionize your life from the inside out. Want to learn more? Click or tap the link in the show notes for all the details. Okay, now back to the episode. With your dad, I'm going to call him your dad. Yes?
Yes.
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 So we'll leave biological dad out now. Let's talk about then your dad and your mom.
Yes.
Let's talk about their relationship and let's talk about what it is that you've learned from the two of them.
Yeah. So when he came into our lives, he put my mom first on everything. Not that he, completely devalued himself at all, but he put my mom on a high pedestal where I never saw that before. I never saw someone value my mom as much as I value her because my mom's like my hero. She's my person. And for me to share that with someone else and them seeing the value that she has and that she brings is such a beautiful thing. And it made me realize that there could be a really true, good relationship with someone out there if you find the right person. And that person is someone that's going to make you shine brighter. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, that's what my dad did with my mom. He made her feel amazing, just beautiful every single time, flowers all the time. It's just like one of those, I'm just like, gosh, you guys are so sappy, but it's cute. It's just like, I'm so glad that she found you. Mm-hmm. I mean, he, I might say, lured her into by creating a song for her that he sang at their wedding. I'm just like, that's amazing. Who does that nowadays? No one. So it's such a beautiful thing to see true love happen, even after, like, you're giving a different opportunity. And, they've been together now 20 plus years. And they had my little brother in the process too. And it's beautiful to see how we intertwine the families together. And so for me, he's not my stepdad. He's my dad, and my little brother's not my half brother. He's my little brother. And that's the family unit that we became afterwards. And beautiful to see, what my mom and my dad created.
So there's some wisdom here around leadership and how we can choose family. And we sort of started this about your chosen family with the way you love your friends very intentionally. And we're hearing it from your mom and how she really intentionally made a family. And I'm just really curious about what you know to be true after watching your mom lead that, and also now leading that in your own life and relationships. What's the wisdom in there?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, don't settle for less. It's if you're unhappy, do something about it. It's go to MRW. I had to. No, it's just one of those things where like it taught me communication. It's talking communication through not necessarily getting angry all the time. And, we get flustered, we get mad and all that kind of stuff. But it's talking through things at all times. It's like, I'm not saying my mom and dad are perfect by any means. They have their own issues here and there and all that kind of stuff, but they resolve it.
Well, it's humans.
Yeah,
Humans have
humans.
issues.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's normal. It's not normal. It's like there is no promised land where you don't have issues.
Yeah.
Because issues are where the pain is, and the pain is where the opportunity to grow is. And we want to keep growing. Yes.
Yeah, like you go through the pain, you learn, and you probably won't go through that pain ever again.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe not.
And if you do, it just means it's a deeper opportunity.
Correct. You just have to go a little bit deeper to learn more.
And it's okay. It's no wrong in that.
There's no wrong. And that can be translated into all relationships. It's just friendships. It can be your family members. It can be your loved one, like your partner. It can be anyone. It's just having that communication with other people and just, working through things. Like I said, it's not perfect, but we're human. Completely fine.
We are. Yeah, we've got to work with the human suit that we're in.
Yes.
Okay. So we've got wisdom of friendships. We've got wisdom of parents and joining families together and then making a new family, like that very kind of modern family idea. And we've got you at the center of all of that. You are the center of your orbit. Where do you feel like this wisdom you have is going to take you? Where are we growing to from here?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question because I've never thought about that. Like, where is this going to take me? I genuinely love connecting people. I love creating these connections. I love talking to people. I love, helping other people, even if it's nothing towards me. It's just I'm a people person. And even in the family unit, same thing. Like I love being with my family. They mean everything to me. Even my outside family and all that, and my chosen family. So I think for me, moving forward, where I think this is going to take me is one, building a family when we get there at that point. But also just like outside of the family world and more like in the business world, friendship world and all that. It's just continuing to just make those connections with people of like, oh, you need to get in contact with this person. This person can help you. This person, you want someone on your podcast of this value or of this kind of expertise. Here's this person, it's just connecting people in the way, like almost like a spider web.
You are quite the connector. I've seen you in action. Yeah.
I love it. I genuinely love it. And I'm good at it because I'm good at building those relationships because it's not transactional. People know that I'm, for example, putting them on a podcast. They know that, oh, you bring good value to me, like you've always steered me in the right direction. If you're telling me to go on this podcast, it's because it's going to be a good podcast for me and it's going to build a relationship with someone else that's going to bring value to me too. And not value in that transactional sense, but value in that deeper connection sense.
So let's talk about trust. And I also want to talk about rituals of connection. So I let something slip through just before because we were talking about something else, but I've held it. You talked about your stepdad and how he played chess with you every night. And that is called a ritual of connection. What happens is you can grow to depend that you're going to be able to do that experience every night. It becomes this sacred thing that it belongs to the two of you and it's your time. and it invests in the relationship. It does like a deposit of emotional connection in the bank account.
Yeah.
And over time, it builds trust and commitment, which are the kind of pillars of how we form relationships. And I can see that learning from the leadership of I'm going to put both your parents in that category. That leadership from both of them has allowed you to translate that into the way in which you build your life now and your relationships. And so you're building safety, you're building connection. But one of the things we haven't touched on is the way in which you manage conflict, because we're talking a little bit sunshines and rainbows and fairies here around like all the greatness in your life. But there is no relationship without conflict, because no two people are the same.
Correct.
Even identical twins have different experiences of growing up in the same family. They are different. Even the ones that have the same genetics, different genes turn on depending on the experiences the person is exposed to.
Yep.
So they can present very differently and be biologically twins. So my curious question to you is around conflict and influence, and that ability to receive influence, which is perhaps some people might say criticism.
Yes.
Which I think is, we can say criticism, but we could also say adjustments or feedback.
Yeah.
And your ability to also lead through conflict, because that is central to being able to build those deeper relationships. When you're at surface relationships and there's conflict, we just cut it.
Yep.
That's actually fine. See ya, we're done. But if you want long-lasting relationships, you have to learn how to navigate conflict, whether it's smaller, medium, or hotter, in order to be able to hold the relationship across time.
Yes.
Because people that are close to us are teachers of us, and we have to grow together in order to stay beyond the transactional.
Yep.
So let's talk about how you lead through conflict.
Yep. So it's funny because I feel this is going to go all full circle at this moment.
Funny about that.
Funny enough, it's not like you planned that at all.
Actually, I didn't plan it. I just wondered.
Yeah. So for me, I look at it as constructive criticism, like if we go through conflict or a learning experience or anything like that. So, and I'm going to be talking as CEO of exposure, because that's where we'll get more like constructive criticism. And that's completely fine. It's a learning experience. It's a learning opportunity. It's like, let's say you didn't like something and you came to me about it. What can I do to make it better for you? It's not something of like, Meg, let me do whatever you want me to make you happy and all that kind of stuff. It's like, no, tell me what it is that you're concerned about. And we've had these conversations actually in the past.
You and me have definitely done this.
Absolutely. But when I'm listening to you, I'm like, definitely listening to you. I'm like hearing the pain, you know, different kinds of pain. This is like a pain, you know? So it's like, okay, let me make it better. Let me talk to the team. Let's like do what we need to do. But we act on it quickly.
You do?
We don't sit on it and just, let's wait a month and see what happens. It's like, no, how can we fix this right away? How can we fix this right now? And this goes along with everyone else too. You know, it's just like, we've heard that because we do things so quickly and because we care, going back to that level of careness for someone, that's what builds that relationship even better. You know, it's not the fact that like, I mean, we all make mistakes and things happen, you know, that we're unhappy with, but we fix it right away. We go ahead and go in there and just like, how can we make this better? Because we care about your experience and we care about our relationship more than anything too. It's like, I don't want a sour taste in your mouth about me. And it's just like, and vice versa. It's just like, no, like, let's make this better. If it's within our scope and that we can do something to make it better, we're going to do everything we possibly can to do that.
Okay. So good answer. I'm going to go deeper with that.
Yes.
So you and I are able to do those sorts of conversations and it never gets pointy and personal.
Yes.
So there's not actually like contempt. There's not criticism. It's just like, this thing isn't working. I'm really worried about it. What can we do? Yes. And so that is actually an easier, more mature kind of way to resolve things. And maybe all your clients are like that. So maybe you need to go out further than being a CEO.
Find the bad one.
Maybe, but I want to get the wisdom of the people who actually don't disagree
Yeah.
respectfully.
Yeah.
Because deep relationships, people aren't always able to say, this is hurting, I don't like this
Yeah.
this bit is not so good for me, how can we move it? Like that kind of language is a learned one over time. And what comes before that is, you suck, you did it wrong,
Yeah.
you hurt me, you didn't deliver, I knew I couldn't trust you. We get that version first, where we blame, where we shift it away from constructive and building our way through it
Yeah.
to make this pain that I have is your fault.
Yeah.
And as a business owner offering services, that is kind of par for the course.
Yeah.
And so how you catch that and work with that, I think, is really interesting here. So how do you work with that type of not so kind conversation?
It's definitely not fun. And I can only think of one person that this has actually happened. Thankfully, they're all like you.
Isn't that interesting?
It is. But I think that's also based on the level of the relationship as well. I think that's just something that you nurture at that point. But for this one particular person, and this can go with anything just in life in general too, the pointing the fingers, the harsh criticism, the name
Contempt.
calling, the contempt. It's just like, I'm okay at listening to things. Like, if you want to call me things, that's completely fine. That, like, say what you want. For me, when it really affects me is when they talk about the team. It's just like, I will be that business owner of just like, do not talk about the team in a negative way. Like, they are hard workers. They are doing everything they can. They took direction and all that. Like, it wasn't clear to them, or maybe it just wasn't clear coming from your end or something. There's something there that someone miscommunicated along the way. But for me, I value my teammates before anything and all that. So as soon as anything negative is said about them, I'm like, okay, we cannot continue this relationship. Say what you want about me. That's completely fine. But we cannot continue this relationship. Now, if it's not something negative about the team, and it's just about me or like the work that's being done or anything like that, then, we take it on. We see if we actually did anything wrong or anything that way. But if the client says that they felt a certain way, we're just like, okay, so we talk to them about it. It's just like, let's make it up for you. Like, we'll do this for free this month and all that kind of stuff, or we'll take a notch down on the payment and all that just to make you feel happy. If we see the trend in it, then we're just like, okay, now you're just causing problems just to cause problems. But I think because of my upbringing and just like seeing the true face value of people, I'm able to just digest any kind of negativity. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. I get upset, I get sad and all that, but I'm able to digest it still. And just like, I don't want to say internalize it, because it's like, I don't keep it in. I just let it out. But I'm able to take it in, digest it, and just be like, okay, what do we need to do to move forward? Make you happy, at least at that moment. If we need to cut ties, that's completely fine too. But when we do cut ties, I'm still going to reach out if you ever need anything. I'm still going to reach out and be like, you're actually a good podcast guest for someone else. Like, I'm still going to reach out. I've never been that person to be like, I'm completely done with you in my life. Done. I'm not that kind of like shady person of just like, nope, you're gone. Bye. If there's an opportunity for someone else, I'm not going to withhold that information from someone just because I don't like someone. It's just like, that's never been my kind of cup of tea. Like, I'm not that person.
It's interesting when people bring you the contempt, the criticism, the stonewalling, or the ability to blame, deny, justify, defend, minimize. Those sorts of defensive postures are usually not usually
something going on with them.
Yeah, because what's behind that is a wound of some description. And that wound has been activated by something that has just happened between you. And what I think I'm hearing you say is, you see the posturing and you remember the human behind it.
Yeah.
And you do your best to find the human, to connect with them and to soothe them and to find a way forward. And whether they can move forward or not is going to be up to them, and whether they can organize themselves I mean, like within themselves so that they can move forward or not.
And it's also like on your end, and by your end, I mean, like, let's say me, for example, at this moment, like if someone were to come up to me, it's like also having a level of understanding of where that person is at that time. Are they stressed out about something?
Mm-hmm.
Are they going through something in life right now where it's just bringing all this negativity towards them, this stress, this like lashing out at other people where it's uncalled for? Like if it's something that's completely out of their usual demeanor, then there's something going on with them. So it's like, that's why I don't take it personally, because I'm like able to look past all that and be like, you know what? They had an event. They're going through like a lot of stress right now. Like there's too much going on for them. And maybe the one little mistake that we did just was enough to tip them off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. It's just like, unfortunately, we were that cherry on top for them.
You see the humanity in people and you allow some grace.
Yes.
I also hear boundaries.
It's funny you say that because I've been working on my boundaries a lot lately. Just getting better at them, getting better at, it's a continuous learning.
It's a lifelong journey.
Yes.
Yes.
Especially with my people pleasing past of like trying to, keep someone in and stuff like that. But definitely been working on the boundaries, but I do have that empathy towards others.
Well, you have the wisdom of understanding pain and how it shows up and gets in people's way.
Yeah. And it shows up differently for other people. It's just seeing how it works for other people. Like I remember lovely client of ours, they do such a great job and we have such a great communication. And one day out of the blue, just completely broke off. Just like all of a sudden was just completely mad at us. Just like, where's this coming from? And I was just like, they've been traveling back to back for the last 3 weeks. They're completely stressed. Their time zones are completely messed up. This was just like the last little straw of what they needed. And that's what happened. But the next day, like nothing ever happened.
So there's interesting there because I can hear your clients.
Yes.
You know where they are. You know what they're doing. That level of connection and attunement that's in a deeper relationship means that you can actually navigate and shift with them because it's not transactional.
Nope.
If that was just transactional,
I wouldn't have known.
Yeah, and perhaps then you might have had a bigger blow up. Well, don't say that about my team. Don't you dare come in here and talk to me like that. Who do you think you are? Have some respect. Like you can imagine the defensive posture back when it comes to a more transactional relationship.
Yep. And it's, for us, it's because we build those connections, it's not once you're in the agency, you're in there and you don't get to talk to me ever again. If anything, I'm the one that always wants to talk. I'm like, hey, how we doing? We're good.
I'm coming to Melbourne.
Yeah.
I'd like to
hi.
see you.
And I like building those connections with these clients. I love it. I feel like it's almost part of my job to build these relationships. It's just like, it's part of who I am. And it's everything that makes me who I am.
Well, it's one of your great strengths because we all have things, we get that deck of cards. But in that deck of cards are our strengths that come innately to us. And so one of the things that comes so innately to you is your ability to connect and also foster relationships. It is.
I love fostering those relationships, whether they're clients or not. It's just like I generally love the connection of human beings.
You do.
That's what it is. It's, there's like a warmth that it brings me. And there's just so much to learn from other people if you dig deeper.
Yeah. So my last big question for you is around fear. So because this is a strength of yours, it does mean that for other people, this is not a strength for them. They will have other strengths. And so this kind of might feel utopian or out of reach or not available very easily or with lots of obstacles in the way. Or perhaps they've done harm along the way to other people and they're looking around saying, well, good for you, Moncy. You were able not to do that, but I am a human and I have done that. What advice or wisdom do you have for people who don't find this easy? Can you learn it? How do you learn it? Where do you start? And how do you know if you're doing a good job?
You can definitely learn it. It's not going to happen overnight though. You know, everything I've done, the relationships I've built did not happen overnight. It's something that you foster. You grow as time goes, you know, and it becomes a beautiful thing.
Is there practicing in that?
There's definitely practicing in that. You know, it starts off with like you meet someone at a networking event. Let's just say that. Okay, cool. What kind of questions are you asking? Are you asking superficial questions or are you asking deep rooted questions to actually get to know the person? Because someone is always going to remember those kind of questions over someone who asks about what the weather was like today. So building those meaningful connections in person or whether it's virtually can help foster those relationships right away. So it's getting better at the kind of questions that you're asking and not something that you got to like look up online. What are good questions to ask and all that? But it's just like, if you really do care about making a relationship, you would know instantly what kind of questions you would be asking. But here's the thing. Don't make it about yourself. Make it about the other person. The whole what's in it for me, no one's going to like value that kind of relationship. You know, it's like if I go up to you and I'm just like, hey, Meg, like I really want help at this like relationship and all that kind of stuff. Like, what should I do? Like my marriage is this and all that. That brings no value to you. For you, that's just like, okay, this is just another day of work for me. Like, I don't want this. If anything, I'm going to be asking you some intimate questions about yourself if you allow me to. You know, so it's just like asking those kind of questions over the superficial ones connects that deeper connection. Another one too, it's if someone is extremely wealthy, because right now there's this like big expansion on wealth going on. What value outside of monetary value can you bring to this person that triggers them on that emotional level? You made my wife happy by, you know, playing this game with her. Amazing, cool. He's always going to remember that over, hey, I just bought you dinner. Cool. Along with the person from yesterday and the person tomorrow doing that for me. You know, they don't care about that kind of stuff. They care about like the emotional factor. They care about, made my wife feel this way, or you made me feel this way on an emotional level. So it's like thinking outside of the box when you're connecting with someone and taking yourself out of it. Like, do not care about the value that it's going to bring to you. Care about the person in front of you.
And sometimes there is preparation in that. And so I think it is okay to ask for help on the internet around what kinds of deeper questions could I ask? Because if you're a person that actually gets on the spot and doesn't know what to ask, it's okay to have some prompts on your phone and to go to the restroom and have a look and remember what they are, because when we're learning a new skill,
it is hard.
We actually just maybe sometimes need to learn it brick by brick by brick. And that is fine. That's not wrong if you get into the moment and you're like, I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to ask.
Just say, I'll be right back.
Well, give me a quick second. I'll be right back.
And then
so
lead
true.
with something, which is like, what's your favorite childhood pet? What happened to you? Where were you in 1994?
Yeah, exactly. You know, like, what's the most meaningful song to you? Like something that like connects like in a deeper level for sure, like outside of the usual questions. And just build that relationship even more. But definitely, you know, depends on what kind of industry you're in. There's networking events, you know, there's social media. It's always an easy way too, because there's a buffer with your phone. So just having those kind of conversations on social media, like building that kind of relationship there is great, but also knowing how to translate it when it becomes in person. There's this whole weirdness going around because everyone's so comfortable on social media, but because they're so comfortable with their phone, when it comes to like actually having a conversation in person, it gets weird because there's no, you know, buffer of like, okay, it's just a black screen. It's not my face. So it's like making sure you're able to translate that in person as well. Keep that conversation going.
Yeah. We say at MRW, my company, when we bring our women together for live events, we're like, our friends are coming out of the computer and into the same hotel. And that is a nice way to look at it. Our friends are in the computer. And so how you treat each other in the computer, even if that's your phone, is actually really important. Remembering the humanity of the people that are on the other end of your phone, of your computer. There is a person there who feels things and likes to be noticed and appreciated just like you do.
So true on that one.
Yeah. All right, Moncy, it's the end of our podcast. Here's what's going to happen. We're in fall. We're at our tables. We've got our chairs. We've got our drinks. We've got our cozies. You know the drill. You know the drill.
I love my cozies.
Yeah, me too. There's chairs here for our listeners to come, and we're here for just one last piece of wisdom. We're relaxed. We know each other now. We're at ease. We're happy to be together. What last thing would you like to leave our listeners with?
Be your true, authentic self wherever you show up. It's just like, if you aren't true, it's hard to hold that facade with you everywhere. And then people will figure it out eventually. So just always be your true, authentic self in every single place you go. Every time you show up somewhere, the truer you are, the more authentic you are, the more people will actually appreciate that over just creating a fake facade over social media or in person or anywhere that you're at.
And the people that are for you will recognize you.
Yes.
And the people that are not for you are not wrong. They're not bad.
Nope.
They're just for other people.
Correct.
And we need to be like the tides where we let them go in, we let them go out, and we let them come in, is what I was trying to say. We let them go out, we let them come in.
Yep.
And we are okay with things moving and shifting in our life because we have ourselves and we have our loved ones. Yes. Now, Moncy, I have been ending with a tree jasper. But of course, I've been with you for the last few days, and you already have your tree jasper.
I do.
So on behalf of our beautiful women community, here is a piece of tree jasper that I gave to you 2 days ago to represent the wisdom that you have earned and to be very thankful for your contribution to your your contribution from your wisdom to our listeners in this conversation. We are very, very grateful.
Thank you for having me on, Meg. It was definitely a lighted, conversation, and I loved it all.
I loved it all too. It was super fun. Thank you so much, Moncy. I'll see you now for lunch. Thank you for listening to this episode of Wisdom Stripes. Follow me on @Meg Tuohey Official and leave a comment and review. I'm looking forward to meeting you here next time on Wisdom Stripes.